What is going on, everyone? Chris with Journos, Comics, and Pop Culture, and we have the next video counting down the top 100 key comics to invest in for under $100. Today, we are going through numbers 70 through 61. If you haven't checked out the previous videos in this series, guys, you need to definitely do that after you watch this video here. This is how we're doing this. Top 100 comics. The closer we get to the bottom numbers, the higher these books have increased in value over the last 5 years. So you're going to be paying attention to that increase in percentage in value, all right? So as we keep going, the books are just going to keep getting hotter and hotter. For everyone that's just tuning in that isn't subscribed to the channel yet, guys, please take some time to do so. Check out all the awesome links below, including how you can become a patron via patreon.com for only $3.99 a month, the price of just one new comic book. You get all kind of extra perks, including automatic entry into all my Patreon-only contests, official merch link below as well, and of course, our comic book canon YouTube link is below, where we have our live shows every Friday night. But guess what? Today is A1 Wednesday, so before we get into this books, guys, I'm going to talk about one more thing, and yes, that's A1 Comics. Now, I always talk about A1 Comics' IG live sales that they have twice a week, every week on Wednesday and Friday, but they're taking a break. They've been working super hard every week, so the next couple of weeks, no live sales, but guess what? If you're in the Sacramento area, you have to go check out one of the 3 A1 Comics locations: Sacramento, Roseville, and Folsom. They are having a 50% off sale of all DC super titles. It's Superman, Supergirl, Superboy, Superwoman, whatever is related to those super families, right? All month long, 50% off. Sale does end at the end of the month of February, but if you go in there, pick out some books, and tell them at the register that Journo sent you, you're going to get an extra 5% off. Love my people over there at A1, guys. So again, if you're in the area, go support them. If you're not in the area, check out a-1comics.com, and of course, follow them on Instagram and social media. All of their information is below as well. But I'm not going to say anything else about anything other than these next 10 books that we are going to be going over. So we're going to start this list off at number 70. All right, peoples, this is Fantastic Four 53. It's the second appearance of Black Panther and first appearance of KLAW. I believe this book is definitely undervalued. Now, you'll see a theme with me, and if you watch my channel, I talk about second appearances all the time. You know, the next best thing, especially if those first appearances start becoming out of reach for a lot of us normal collectors out there that don't have deep pockets. We know first appearance of Black Panther isn't cheap. This is the second appearance of Black Panther, but it's also the first appearance of KLAW, and it's still extremely valuable. Now, I'm going to say this, as I've said in every other video. The grade that you see here in CGC is going to be that grade that fits under that $100 mark. Anything above that grade, most likely, is going to cost you above $100. But I always say, my thing is that a book isn't just a book in a high grade, especially with Silver Age books. Let's look at these numbers. Current CGC, 4.5 fair market value, $94. 5 years ago, that's $68. It's an increase in value of 38%. So here's the thing. If I could get a copy of this book in a 4.5 graded CGC for under $100, that's a win for me. I am all good with that, right? Average raw sale, $60. And let me talk to you guys about the average raw, and what that means, as I do in every video. Average raw is basically, it doesn't stipulate a grade. It takes all raw sales, no matter if they're near mint, mid-range, low grade, dirt mess reader copies, right? And you take the average sale of all those books. So you got to take the average raw with a grain of salt, but it does give you kind of a median to look at and to work around, to say, well, there's probably some type of grade that I can get around that value. When you're looking at a Silver Age book like this, it's probably going to be more in the lower to low mid-grade ranges, around that $60 mark. But still, look, if you guys can get a book that is decently, what I call, it presents well at that price, this is an awesome book that I feel is going to continue to increase over time for that long-term investment. But I mean, look, Black Panther is a character that, because of the MCU and, unfortunately, Chadwick Boseman, rest in peace, he isn't going to be here, but we know that the Black Panther um, saga is going to continue on. I mean, we just got the announcement for the World of Wakanda Disney Plus show, so I'm telling you, these Black Panther books, they're not slowing down. All right, we are going to move on to number 69, and we have Spawn number 1, probably one of the greatest, if not the greatest, independent book to ever be released, at least in my humble opinion. First appearance of Spawn. Current CGC 9.4, sitting at around 75. Not too shabby. 5 years ago, $54. That's a 39% increase in value. Very, very solid. Average raw, 20 bucks. And look, this is a modern book, so you're not going to get a lot of beat up reader copies, so you can probably get a decent higher grade around that $20, maybe $25 range. Obviously not near mint, but look, anywhere around the very fine range at 20 bucks, this is just an iconic book. The myth, the legend that is Todd McFarlane is just going to continue over time, in my humble opinion. All right, we're going to move on, guys, to number 68. This is the Flash number 137, some more Silver Age goodness. This is the first Silver Age appearance of the JSA and Vandal Savage. So here we have another Silver Age book where we're looking at more of that mid-grade range for under $100. Current CGC 4.5 fair market value, sitting at right about that $100 mark at around $98. And 5 years ago, 68. So that's a 44% increase. Like I said, these books are going to keep increasing as we go down the list. That is a solid increase. Average raw sitting at $25. Again, you probably have more lower grades at that value, but still, I mean, this blows my mind. The first Silver Age appearance of the JSA, and you could find even maybe a lower mid-grade sitting around $25. That's solid, in my opinion. And look, if the DCEU can really get their act together and bring these characters to life in the way to where the majority of the fans want, boy. But this is what I say about DC. DC books don't need movie hype for them to at least continue to incur value for that long term. I mean, look at this book right here. Over the last 5 years, 44% increase. Obviously, movie hype helps. Obviously, successful movies help as well. But look, there's books that are doing it without that. And that just, again, shows the state of this hobby, guys. And it is exciting for me to talk about. All right, we are going to move on to number 67. All right, Uncanny X-Men number 49. This is the first appearance of Polaris. I'm hyping this book up, but take what I say with a grain of salt. But here's the thing. Actually, let's talk about the numbers first, and then I'll get into my perspective on this book. Current CGC 5.5 fair market value, sitting right above $100 at $109. 2016, 5 years ago, $75. That's a 45% increase. Average raw, $50. Again, Silver Age book. You're looking at more mid-grade books at that value, most likely. But here's the thing. We know that the X-Men are coming into the MCU. There's already been pickup on a lot of these first appearances. You know, I mean, we see this book over the last 5 years getting that 45% increase. Kevin Feige has came out and stated, that when the X-Men show up, they're not just going to carbon copy the team that we saw within the Fox films. They're going to switch it up. I mean, I'm sure we're going to have some key players, but they're going to switch it up. And I have a feeling, or I would humbly like to see Polaris be one of those characters that shows up sooner than later. I think she has great potential to do that. She's never really been presented in live action other than on the Gifted show, and I don't really count that. So I'm really rooting for Polaris to show up in the MCU, sooner than many mutants. So that's my hype. But again, you look at movie speculation and what that means for the short term, but you look at this book for the long term, and I'm telling you, like most of these books on this list are all about that long term return on investment, but still have the possibility of being very healthy in the short term market as well. All right, we're going to move on to 66. And yes, we got some more Black Panther. This is Black Panther number 1, the first solo Black Panther title. Now, we know that he had a solo story in Jungle Action. after he made his first appearances in Fantastic Four. But, this is just Kirby goodness. It's his first real Black Panther title. And this is a book that, again, you talk about long term mixed with the popularity of the character, especially within the next generation. You know, current CGC 7.5 fair market value, sitting at around $94. 5 years ago, $65. That's a 45% increase as well. Average raw sale, $83. Now, this is a, Bronze Age book, so, you're probably still looking at about a mid-grade, a healthy mid-grade at around that price. I mean, look, you got a 7.5 sitting at around a 94 fair market value. And of course, always take the fair market values, even with a grain of salt, because those things are still only an average and they fluctuate. They could fluctuate day to day and change from today to tomorrow. So, but you could still get a healthy copy of this book, a real solid healthy copy of this book for under that $100 mark. All right, we are counting down and moving on to 65. And boy, was there a little bit of talk around this book lately. This is Amazing Spider-Man number 51. Second appearance of the Kingpin in his first cover appearance. All right. Here's what's been going on with this book. There's been talk. I'm not even going to get into it. I'm just going to bring it up. I'll save this conversation maybe for its own video, but there's been an argument brought up that says, hey, this should be Kingpin's first appearance. First true appearance. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not even going to get into that. We're not talking about labels here. As it is, Kingpin's second appearance, first cover appearance. Look at him right there, just hovering, dominating that stature over Peter. Spider-Man, it is just broken, right? This is an awesome book. Look, current CGC 6.0 fair market value, $90. Look, a 6.0 for a Silver Age book like this is a beauty, in my opinion. 5 years ago, $62. That's another 45% change in value. Average raw sales sitting at about $80. Again, you're probably looking at a more maybe mid-range for that value. This book, again, no speculation, nothing. Solid long-term investment. Second best thing. That Amazing Spider-Man 50 is really getting out of reach for a lot of collectors. But get this. We know that Tom Holland's Spider-Man is going to come back for another trilogy. And we know that next trilogy is going to be more mature and have a bit, darker of themes going on in those films. And I really feel that they're going to bring in that more street kind of mob, gangster, street level villain, antagonist into those storylines. And that's who could that bring in? Kingpin, right? Hopefully played by Vincent D'Onofrio. And hopefully we get a team up with Charlie Cox's Daredevil and Tom Holland's Spider-Man going against D'Onofrio's Kingpin. Wouldn't that be freaking amazing, man? So lots of potential for Kingpin and for these types of characters. Tombstone, Hammerhead, all of them. So really look out for this book. I really think, look, and again, I always say, take what I say in terms of investing with a grain of salt. But if you're a Spidey fan, all right, if you are willing to take the risk in these types of speculations, this is a book that I think has a lot of potential, even in the short term, for potential spec that relates to the MCU. All right, moving on to number 64. This might be one of the most undervalued books, at least in this set of 10 books. This is X Factor number 6, the first full appearance of Apocalypse. Now, I think it's finally starting to get the momentum that it deserves. Let's look at the numbers. Current CGC 9.4 fair market value at $88, roughly. 5 years ago, $60. That's a 47% increase. So we're seeing a substantial increase here finally. Average raw sales still sitting at around an average of $31 again. A mid-80s book. You're probably looking at least very fine copies of this book maybe being at around that $30 mark. So still extremely, extremely affordable. I love Oscar Isaac, but they did him wrong in Age of Apocalypse with this character. I think that hurt this book, to be quite honest. I think that film actually hurt this book. But we're seeing some uptick now. And boy, would I love to see Apocalypse done right in the MCU at some point in time. All right, we have 3 more on the list today, guys. And next up, at 63, we have Wolverine, number 10. This is okay, so I do apologize. This isn't the first Wolverine Sabertooth battle. I believe that was in Uncanny 212. But this is the first battle of the 2 in the Wolverine solo titles. All right. So that's why it's, a little more sought after, because it's still an early battle. But yeah, that Uncanny 212, I believe, does predate this. So we're looking at current CGC 9.6 fair market value at $77. 5 years ago, 52. So that's a really decent increase of 48%. Average raw is still sitting at about $20, and this is a late 80s book, so that's you're probably looking at nice high grade books that you could still find in this book sitting in around $20. I mean, if you could find a decent fine range, even between 12 and 16, I think that's solid for this book. Look, I know we've seen a lot of Wolverine and a lot of Sabretooth even in the Wolverine films and in the X-Men franchises, but again, I think we're gonna see these characters in the MCU. And even though we know that Hugh Jackman was one of the icings on the cake through all the kind of turmoil and backlash with a lot of the Fox's decisions with the X-Men, we're gonna see these characters done justice again once they finally hit the MCU. But again, I'm focusing on that 48% increase on this book. That is solid. Solid. All right, moving on to number 62. This is Infinite Crisis number 3. So this is the first appearance of Jaime Reyes, the Blue Beetle. And the reason why I really like this book is because, again, talking about Warner Brothers and the DCEU, if they get their stuff together, if we see a live action Blue Beetle, I do believe that Jaime Reyes' Blue Beetle would be the best option for literally like every reason. I'm not even going to get into that, but I do feel like it's the best option for Warner Brothers to go that route. So looking at this book at a current CGC 9.8, still sitting at around under that $100 mark at $96. 5 years ago, 64. That's a 50% increase. But get this, an average raw is still sitting at around $8. So if you could get a near mint copy of this book for under $20, again, especially if you could grab one that you can maybe get a press and clean and send it to CGC to get that 9.8, I really think that this is one of those books that has a lot of short-term possible potential at a low risk because you're not putting a lot of money into it. I mean, if you're putting $10, $20 into this book, it's low risk because that's not that much money, but I do believe it has a lot of potential to increase in the short term. So I really like the potential of seeing Jaime Reyes Blue Beetle in live action somewhere down the line within the DC or the DCEU. Fingers crossed the DC can still get their stuff together and come out with some banger movies here in the near future. All right, everyone. This is the last book on the list today, and coming in at number 61. One of my favorites on this list, probably. This is Uncanny X-Men number 244, the first appearance of Jubilee, man. Jubilee. Look, that's my era. I still have this copy of this book that I purchased off the shelf of my local LCS. And I love Jubilee, man. I grew up watching the animated series. Jubilee was dope. And we never got Jubilee. Fox, what's your problem? So here's another thing. I talked about Polaris. I'm going to talk about Jubilee in the same breath. I absolutely think Jubilee has the possibility of showing up sooner than later than some of these other mutants that we've already seen within the Fox properties. I would love to see that happen. All right, let's look at these numbers. Current CGC 9.6 fair market value sitting at about $90. 5 years ago, $60. Again, another 50% increase on this book. Awesome to see. Average raw sale, $14 again. Later 80s books came out around what, 80, 88? I don't know exactly off the top of my head, but $14. If you can find a decent high grade of this book, I think for under $25, I think that's a solid price. Again, this is one, I just think long term, it's a firm investment, but this is that short-term spec value here. This is the book where if we get announcement of a Jubilee character in the MCU, you're gonna miss your mark on this book. So this is a book that can easily shoot up fast if something like that happens. Now, I don't think we're gonna have any type of announcement anytime soon. My advice whenever looking into books is be patient, but just be aware. Be educated to, what's going on behind the scenes, what kind of announcements may come through, where, following what's going on with Kevin Feige and the MCU and that pertains to, the X-Men or their upcoming Disney Plus TV shows or films, and just, have patience with things. Don't just buy something because I'm telling you, but this is a book. Look, if you like X-Men and you want to, look to spend $20, $25 maybe, hey, why not do a little bit of research and see what you can find out there? So, guys, with that being said, I keep getting more pumped and more pumped for these lists as we count down, and it's like I want to keep going right now, but you guys are just gonna have to wait a few more days for us to count down 60 to 51, and then we're gonna be almost halfway there. I cannot wait. So thank you all for sticking around for these videos. Again, go check out all the other ones that I've done so far. 100 to 71. Again, if you aren't subscribed, please do so. Hit the notification bell because then you can get notified and catch these videos as soon as I publish them. So, and also before I go, as always, I do want to thank all of my awesome Patreon members: Sean, Michael, Comic Spunk, Jeff, Tricky, Phillyborn, Alvin, One Shot, Frankie's, Joshua, Pedro, Hernani, Peter, Jason, Joe, Larissa, Sagi, Dan, Jamie, Beechner, Simon. And if there's a couple more and you aren't on this list that may have just signed up, I appreciate you. I will definitely get you on the next one and give you your shout out. So again, everyone, thank you so much for watching. Please take the time to subscribe, take the time to comment below, and let me know what you all thought of the books on this list, what you have in your collection, which you may be in the hunt for, and what other books you feel should be on this list, or what might be coming up in the next set of videos as we continue to count down. All right, everyone, be well. Thank you for watching, and until next time.